All right, we'll call this meeting of the Freeman School Board to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Emily?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Chris? Cody?
All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We'll require a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by David.
Second.
By Chris, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, conflict of interest disclosures. I see none. Public input.
Also none.
Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. Will require a motion to approve the following: the minutes of the regularly scheduled school board meeting of May 12, 2025, the minutes of the Cornwall Cooperative Board of Advisors meeting of May 13, 2025, the resignation of Larry Whip from the position of custodian, and we thank him for his service, the contract of Jamie Glanzer for the position of elementary 4th through 6th grade reading teacher for the 2025-2026 school year, the contract of Chandra Benzil for the position of elementary kindergarten teacher for the 2025-2026 school year, the conditions of employment of Madeline Hofer for the position of part-time summer support, the conditions of employment for Catalin Junkie for the position of part-time summer support, the conditions of employment for Alexis Jurek for the position of assistant softball coach for the 2025-2026 school year, conditions of employment of Austin Unruh for the position of head girls basketball coach for the 2025-2026 school year, financial reports and claims. Do I have a motion? Motion by Cody. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, administrative reports starting with the elementary principal.
All right. Some of this is from May when we were still in school. Second graders went to the field trip to the zoo. That was good. Sixth graders went on a field trip to the Music Museum in Vermillion. That went well as well. We had a welcome day for our W for the alphabet, and so all of our students rotated to meet their new teachers for about 10 or 15 minutes. And during that time, the sixth graders came up and took a tour of the high school side with Mrs. Sweeter. So that went well. We had our last soaring celebration for our students on May 13th. We just go over AR goals and birthdays during that time. We had a preschool graduation that went well. That was on May 15th. We had a lot of parents here, so that was good. And then we had a team of elementary teachers and we attended the Elevate Literacy Conference on June 2nd and 3rd. So that was Kylie Kim, Dawn, and Rebecca Peterson. Those are the ones that could attend. It was really, really good, really, really informative. Just kind of about moving literacy forward in the state of South Dakota. I'm hoping that they do that again, so that way the rest of the elementary teachers can be in attendance on that. So I'm hopeful that the state will do that. We also hosted Southeastern Electric's annual meeting last Thursday. That went well as well, and they are very appreciative of us allowing us to use the facilities. It seems like a good flow, so FYI on that. Thank you to the Booster Club. They gave us a meal on the last day of school, so we thank them for that. And then congratulations to all of our staff and students on a successful school year. A couple of things coming up. Our extended school year for special education students begins this week. That will be hosted 3 Wednesdays in June and 3 in July. And then our title summer camp, some of our title funds, is what we're using that for, is a summer title camp for some title students. That begins this week. We're going to host 4 times for K2 and 4 times for 3-6 on different days, because the 3-6 students can currently be involved in the chorus thing, so we didn't want to conflict with that. So we kind of put the K2 students on these weeks and the 3-6 students on the next week. So, and then those are my remaining summer scheduled days to work that I know that I will be in for sure. And you know, just continue to check out our Facebook page or Twitter or Instagram or all the things, because there's lots of things we did throughout the year that we just didn't have time to make the posts for. So slowly but surely, I'm just going to keep posting through the summer of the things we did during the school year. So that is all I have.
Yeah, those are really awesome. I've enjoyed them quite a bit. I'm very,
It just takes a little time to get them all
yes,
together.
Very entertaining. Junior, senior high school principal.
He is at a conference.
Okay.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah. Business manager.
In your packets, I put some highlights of some budget updates that is current so far. Really, in general, it's the new staffing salary updates, so just a couple updates with the teachers that we kind of restructured. Open enrollment ended, so I know where everyone landed for benefits. We saw a commercial insurance increase of 8.6%. We will no longer be doing the apprenticeship program, so that was a decrease in the budget. We got reimbursed for it anyways, but we don't have an employee in it next year, so I took that out of the budget. So an update with the capital outlay transfer, it's about a 63,000 increase, so it's 361,340. We'll transfer over from capital outlay. We got preliminary title grant allocations. It's pretty much a flush. It's the same as last year. It's like $7 off. Capital outlay I updated just based on the new curriculum we're getting, finalizing those prices. Special education, just some staffing updates, mainly with our paraprofessionals, reallocating their positions. So that's updated in the salaries, and then open enrollments, the benefits are updated in there. So that's kind of all the numbers I've changed with the budget. We'll have our July budget hearing next board meeting. So kind of finalize things at the end of June for budget.
Thank you. Okay, Superintendent.
Most of our state reports are finished, and we're planning to have our year-end sign-off submitted by the end of next week. Summer cabinet meeting dates are set for the principals and I to start our planning process for next year. As you can see, we got a lot of tape that's on around the trim and for the floors. The custodians have been doing an awesome job of waxing the floors and getting that all looking nice and shiny again. And the gym surface is also getting refinished, so we'll do the main gym now, and then in a couple weeks we'll do the elementary gym. Lots of maintenance stuff happening right now. That's all I have.
Awesome. All right, next on the agenda, unfinished business. There's none. New business, the school board will hold a discussion about an alternative date for the regularly scheduled July 9th school board meeting.
This could be the first time in 4 years I have something going on.
No, I know. So both Cody, no, it was supposed to be July 14th, was the regularly scheduled. Was supposed to be July 14th. And I know both Cody and I were going to be gone that day. And given July is a big month as far as onboarding new board members, et cetera, was looking at rescheduling that to Wednesday, July 9th, if that works for everyone. I know I've reached out to Katie Franson since she will be the new board member, and that does work for her as well. Work for everyone?
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. I think you leave on the 10th, so you should.
Yeah, I had to Google the conversation
Right,
we had.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I told her I should.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll require a motion to approve the alternative date for the July school board meeting. It will now be July 9th at 7 p.m. instead of July 14th. Do I have a motion?
So,
Motion by Chris. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by Cody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, the school board will hold a discussion about a video board for the main gymnasium.
Jerry is here from Daktronics, so would like to run us through a presentation.
Yeah, thank you for letting us present to you. We were here right after COVID. I don't know if you recall that. Some of you were here. We actually have photos of people in the gym with masks on. So we kind of had that on there. But we changed a little bit, not a whole lot on there, and a couple other things that have happened on there with projects around the region that I wanted to share with you. But this is what we're looking to do on the right side of the stage, put in basically a 7x12 video board. As you can see, we're showing it here as a regular scoreboard here, but we can do an awful lot more with that. We can zone it out in the very bottom where the team fouls is at. We can right zone it, and then a main screen in here. And by doing that, it allows us a lot of opportunity for content, such as maybe a senior profile, player profile, commercials, those sorts of things on there. But it allows us to be able to do a number of different things to be able to generate revenue. Here's another look that we had proposed the last time, is actually having another pair we only have 2 anchor sponsors on there, but here we could have 4 anchors on there too, depending on how you guys want to proceed. I just wanted to show that to you, that we can make this work either way. But basically, we're looking at that same video board. Then the other side, you already have this, but the one thing we'd probably add, we're doing a revenue generating piece, those founding partner panels on the bottom. That would be the only add on that side. That make sense? Okay. I want to touch base on a couple of things that I think are a wonderful thing. In the last 5 years, with our curriculum that we've been able to offer, is we've seen a lot of students be able to discover careers, discover paths that they never knew they had before. And we've worked with industry experts, event producers, our Daktronics folks, teachers. We have matter of fact, we hired a teacher to be able to do this for us on the curriculum. And so there's so many curriculum opportunities for our students in the schools. So it isn't just the athletes on the field or on the court. It's those students back home creating things. We've had student clubs up in Watertown. They had Aero Club, and it was kind of a cool deal for them putting this all together, and they've done wonderful things. And it really is as much as you want to do on there, but it does give these students an opportunity to explore things and gives them opportunity, goes that next level. I think we're probably about 75 to 80% of the video boards in the major college market, and probably even more than that in like the Northerns, the Madisons, the DSUs, all those of the world as well. But I just put these up here kind of in a region. And the reason why I put that up there, these schools have always asked us, can you send us some seniors who have experience in your equipment? Because it's nice if they know what we're getting into when they come here. And so we put together a Crew Connect, basically a pipeline from us, where we're having a video board, whether in Estline, South Dakota, or Watertown, South Dakota, to that school, to SCSU, to USD, North Dakota State, whoever it happens to be. But they can have the ability to talk to that student, that senior basically, and say, hey, we've got room for you here, either as an internship or paid position on there. And that allows a lot of opportunity for the students. I brought this example up. Connor Peters came from Liberty North out of North Kansas City, Missouri. And he started at Liberty North High School and discovered he had a passion for this. He really liked it. And then he went to Missouri Western up here. Now he's at Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals. Just found out the other day that he's actually the managing that for both of them. He's 25 years old, and kind of a cool deal for him. And we're seeing more and more of that happening, going to the next level. As you can see, NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, NBA, we have the majority of those. And so there's opportunities out there for students if they want to do it. Not every student wants that, but these same skill sets, they offer a lot of good paying jobs, from producers and directors down to special effects animators, graphic designers. We pulled this off the Bureau of Labor stats, I think last August of 2024. Pretty good paying jobs, and there's fast growing opportunities for these. This segment of the society, of our job market, is growing at a 10% clip. The normal is 5%, and so it's outpacing the normal. Then the other reason why we want to be able to talk to you, be able to show the advantages of that, bringing revenue back into the school, not only to pay for it, but maybe to supplement activities, athletic budgets, depending on what you want to do on there. And when we work with schools right away, most of the time, probably maybe 10 to 15,000, they're bringing in currently. Some are more, but many are less than that. When we work with them, we've averaged about $50,000 per year for them. Some are lower, some are higher, but it's been on an average on a national basis. And so our goal is to be able to create long-term revenue by having happy sponsors. So what we put together is designed to make our sponsors, it's a good buy for those sponsors, it's an advertising buy, but it's also a wonderful way for them to be able to partner with the school, and also, I mean, when you look at the overall umbrella, help students with that educational aspect of it. And so that's what really excites me, is that part of it. You guys keep all your sponsorship money. Our marketing service is part of you buying Daktronics. We're not charging for helping you raise the money. I was down in Benton, Illinois last week, helping them sell down there. So we go around quite a ways and help. But I want to be able to show you some Del Rapids. We helped. This was right around when we first came to you guys. We put that indoor, outdoor. Sioux Valley a couple of years ago. You notice they're raising revenue of $50,000 plus. And this one we didn't do. This was just last year in Esteline. And to me, this is very similar size community as what Freeman is. This, I think it's 780 or something like that, population in the town. And we're generating about $50,000 worth of revenue. And we needed to do it because they have a little bit bigger board than what we're proposing here. They needed it just because this is kind of a recessed area. It's further back from the fans. So we needed a little bit bigger just because it's farther away. Here we're close up, so our 7x12 will work wonderfully well. But we also put stat panels and scoreboard on the opposite wall there too. But bring that up. Here's how we do it. We put together professional-looking marketing pieces together like this. All this shows exactly what they're getting, what's in it for the school from the budget-wise down to academics. And then, more important, when we do a sponsor meeting, and we'll even do a sponsor meeting for you, but 9 different areas where it helps the business to help with their marketing advertising. Also put down there the Sioux Valley as well. You can see it's a little bit different layout, but basically it's the same. Part of the other things that we offer is the user network. This is something where go on Facebook, you can exchange ideas. You know, and we can tell you one thing, but when it comes from your peers coming from other places, that means more. We're going to help you every step of the way, training the whole works. Annual video summits. We've got one coming up in 2 weeks. Forgot where, and we got about 5 different parts of the country. But on here, we bring in a bunch of people for one day, and then right there, Cole Center down up in Wisconsin, we were there. The first day, it's on site. The second day, it's all online. And so we can bring people in who maybe couldn't make it there, but they can share ideas and do a video chat. And it's a wonderful resource for a lot of our folks out there. So that's kind of what we do, and I wanted to do one thing when we're talking about the budget-wise, but I have got to pull this up here. And on here, can you guys see that? Or should I make it a little bit bigger? Can you see it all right? On here, we're looking at $90,000 for total project price. When we break that down, I've got a 5.9% interest rate, just in case you needed to fund the money either by a lease or a loan. I'm not sure what you guys would plan to do. This would be taken out if the school funded it, but I want to err on the cautionary side of it. I can easily take that out, but I want to be able to show you with 5.9 on there. We need to have $20,000 come in per year for 5 years. This is a 5-year term piece. With this, Esteline, I'll just give you an FYI. Esteline did $6,000 and $3,000 per year for these upper levels. I think personally, I think that hit at a very optimum time. Last year, all the ag things were going well. I think maybe we've hit a little bit of a stumbling block, but I do think these price points work. $4,000 for each one of the anchors, that's $4,000 per year. The founding partners are $2,000 per year. Now, if we wanted just those 2 anchors, we can take that off of here and still make it all work. And I'll show you this first. And 8 premier partners, those are a digital only. You notice that the anchors and foundings, they all had permanent pieces of signage. And there's a limited amount. Premier partners, I'm showing 8 on there just because I need to put a figure in there. That's all digital only. That goes on the right side or the bottom. Doesn't interfere with these larger sponsors at all. And I'm just showing 8 for $8,000 per year. We're bringing in $34,000 worth of revenue. Remember, we need an annual lease payment, $20,000. We're bringing in $13,000 extra per year. If we wanted to only go with those 2 sponsors that when we talked about that, we can do that as well. And you can see that still makes it at those same price points. We're at $5,800 that we're, so if you do 2 or 4, you can still make it. I always advise these upper levels, keep with what you're doing. Don't add more sponsors to those levels, because all of a sudden it creates clutter on your main advertising piece. And when we put that together for you, we rely on them not having that clutter. So that's kind of what we put together for you guys. I don't know if you guys have questions. You guys have, yeah, you have those right in front of you there too. So if you have any questions on, I've got another. Here we go. I made 10. I wasn't sure how many. Oh, here's an extra one. So I don't know if you have questions at all on what we're doing, anything on the video board itself. The one thing I will let you know, I think Sherry had mentioned that you're hoping to get it in this year before volleyball. And right now we're at a 10-week lead time. If we get the order in tomorrow, well, then fast forward 10 weeks. So when we receive the signed order, it's a 10-week lead time, and that time of the year is always busy. So just an FYI on there. That's why I wanted to be here tonight rather than the July 9th, because we got a shot to make it happen if you guys decide to do that. And the one caveat on there, if you do want to raise money for it, you would, in order for it to be this year, we'd almost have to sell the advertising after you've purchased it.
Right.
Because,
That's what I was wondering.
yeah, because we would not be able to have enough time to, most of my projects, I don't do it that way, but in terms of when you wanted to get put up there, it has to be. Most of mine are done that we will raise the money first and then we'll put it up. But that probably takes about 2 months. So we'd be able to hit basketball season in that deal, so keep that in mind. We're not saying that it can't be done this year. Don't know if it could be done for volleyball, though. That make sense?
So your founding and premier partners, that just scrolls across the video screen?
No, the founding partners, the premier partners do. The founding partners, let me go to this right here. That's a great question. Like when you look on here, this is can you see this kind of layout on here that we have? See how this is laid out? This is where those premier partners would be, on that right zone. This is digital. This is digital here as well, so that could have this level of sponsorship on. The anchors and foundings would go on this main screen. And that's the only ones that go in this main screen here, is just the anchors and foundings. That's why I always put a limit on how many of those levels could be on there. Because we used to not be able to do this, and we start putting in those lower investment levels, and it interfered with these larger investment levels. Frankly, we need those larger investment levels to make the project work. And if we just start putting in a bunch of other smaller sponsors, businesses, well, they're saying, well, that's not fair to us because we're paying more and we're getting this interfered. This allows us to do that we can get the mom and pops of the world in there. So, does that answer your question? That makes sense?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure based on what the, the rendering you have here.
Yeah, and that rendering is, I didn't have chance. This one is, when they did this, and we didn't have a chance to really revise this because this meeting came up quicker than what we thought, but it would be basically, we could put the scoreboard in that part right there. We could put that scoreboard right here on there, and then that pieces. And then say if we need to be able to show an advertising piece or a senior profile we want to put up here, we can quickly put all that, the scoring down here in the bottom. Very easy to do that at a push of a button. Very simple. The one thing, though, you may not need to have the scoring up there all the time because you have the scoreboard at a different location, especially if you put it on the other side of the gym, or excuse me, the other side of the stage. So kind of depends on how you want to set it up. But on there, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference because we'll still want content up there, whether it's a scoreboard, whether it's homecoming dance coming after volleyball, whatever it happens to be.
Does that 90,000 include the relocation of the existing scoreboard to the opposite side?
I think so. Yeah, I think that would be able to fit in there pretty easily on there. Yeah, yeah. And we'd also want to add those ad panels on that founding partner too, that we need to do. Yeah, yeah. Warranty is a 1-year parts and labor, 5-year parts on there. And when we do our video boards, we test all these things to failure to make sure that when they're in your gym, they run. So
90,000 would not include the install or electrical, correct?
I'm not exactly sure what Lonnie has on there. I don't believe it does, because I think Lonnie was talking to you guys that maybe somebody local could do that, if I remember right. So I'm on the marketing side, so I don't have quite as specific of the equipment on there, but especially on that, I don't work with sign companies or things like that, but we can definitely get that, find that out and have them. Lonnie couldn't be here tonight, but
Moving the board would be part of the install.
yeah, yeah.
Just curious about. Seth, you got opinions? What requirements, do you know, are we gonna run Cat 6 over there and have to come across the stage?
You will need to run fiber optic to be able to get that there, because to be able to send that signal, you've got to do fiber optic from there to wherever you're going to have it set up at. So I don't know if you've got a.
The video board needs a fiber optic?
Yeah, that needs, nothing else needs fiber optic. Video board does. It's a lot of data going across there.
We have fiber in that closet.
Yeah, yeah.
That it can go right up and.
Yeah.
wall to it.
That usually on the inside, it's not nearly as bad, usually quite easy on there to be able to route that. And your power should be sufficient there as well. But that's something else that they would need to find out for sure.
If we get real fancy and kids run this and we want like instant replay, what camera are we using for that? That?
Well, now, instant replay, you need to do more on here. This is just the live video you can do, say if you graduation or you want a live.
Sure.
But instant replay takes a little, you could use that.
Yeah.
It's more of either having a TriCaster or some sort of that captures that image so you can do that replay. Keep in mind, if you do that, you need to have more people running it.
Yeah.
And so when we're doing this right away, we always start out with not the replay, because we know that one more person can run that. It doesn't take a whole lot of power or people power on there to do that extra. But that's kind of cool when you do that. What's really fun is if you not really have the huddle camera, and I've had some people do the huddle camera before. That's something, if you're inside the gym, you see that. So why do you need to replay? And what's cool is if you can have a camera on the, like on the baseline or something, and get those shots of players at the free throw line, people like that. Just a little bit extra flair to it, and that matters more in the live and doing and things like that. So this is definitely capable of doing the live video, though. Don't get me wrong. But is that the best use of it? Could be, depending on what you decide. Graduation is wonderful for, because you can have Johnny or Janet going across the stage, and they're on the screen, and then have their baby picture or whatever you guys do here as they grow up. That's kind of cool to be able to do that. That's a big thing. Do you have graduation across the stage? That's a perfect spot. Any other questions?
I don't have any.
All right. Hey, thank you for letting me present here tonight. If you have any questions, please let Jake know, and he'll let us know, and we'll move forward as you guys see fit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The plan would be is that we'd have somebody teaching a class, so we'd have students that would be learning how to operate it, and able to attend the events. And
Who did you have doing that?
we're thinking Sherry right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because she was really young. She really liked what she saw on that.
She's pretty excited about
Yeah.
the potential revenue stream too.
I guess for me, I would feel more comfortable going and securing the funds and making sure that we have it before we order. Just because I mean, and of course, I think volleyball is as important as any other sport, but I just don't understand, we already have a scoreboard there that, we've used in the past. I just don't understand the urgency, I guess. I have to take it out of our budget and then try and do that. Thoughts from anybody else?
I like that.
We already have sponsors out there.
Yeah, and that would be the thought, is talk to them first for those anchor spots.
they-
right?
What's the sponsor, like, is there a dollar amount there that they pay already?
I don't know how it got set up years ago, and I don't know when it stopped. I can't actually answer that.
One of the questions we would ask them when we go to them first and see if they would want to continue.
How many sponsors do we have out there?
Two.
That's all we have room for, right?
You could do 4. You could do 4 anchors, and you could do 5.
But right now, though, is that all the room we have for?
Yeah, just those two on the.
Just, right now, you have it just on that one board? Okay, yeah. Because we would probably, well, that would be fine for that one example with the 2 anchors and then the 5 foundings, but we would still want to add some ad panels on there, especially on that opposite wall. But the one thing that we will do is help collect all the logos. Once we have these, we'll help collect all those logos, so you guys don't need to do all that. Sherry doesn't need to do that. And make sure that everything's set up, whether you do that right away or you wait till the basketball season. So we're helping every step of the way. So, do you need me for more of your discussion? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Emily. I think it's smart to probe the sponsors first. Try to figure that out.
So, yeah,
It
since we
seems
don't,
pretty quick.
since we don't have an annual sponsorship program.
Yeah.
I would think, in respect to the community that's going to be supporting this, gauge the interest.
Yep, I agree.
We're generous in this town, but, since it's been a one-time expenditure in the past, and then their sign goes up there, I think it'd be good to
Yeah.
get the pulse of
Yep.
people's willingness to provide, because we'll probably spend 10 to 15,000 extra electrical and everything else it takes to get it done, so then we're over $100,000. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we knew we had at least a portion of the funding secured before we move forward with it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, that kind of brings us to the next item on the agenda. Will require a motion to approve the process of securing funds to purchase a video board for the main gymnasium. I think the main sentiment is that we reach out to sponsors prior to placing the order to gauge interest, and then we can discuss at a future board meeting. Yes? Okay, sounds good. Then I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by David. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, the school board will receive a facilities and grounds update.
I'll give my update and then turn it over to you guys if you have anything else to add to it. So we are currently at a standstill with our custodial shed with a couple items that are on the punch list that we just can't seem to come to an agreement on. So one of them is the concrete floor that was a patch that was done that we're just not happy with, and we are looking for a better solution. And then the other item would be the windows. That's a little bit more challenging one because we got to wait for it to rain to see if they've fixed the leaks that they've tried to fix. And last time the install of the flashing improved the situation, but was still causing some leaking. So we're waiting to see what happens the next time it rains for that. Dan has finished the paint project and has moved on to replacing the tile behind the 2 drinking fountains that are on each hallway in the junior senior high school. That once we did the paint job, that yellow tile started all of a sudden stuck out like a sore thumb. So thankfully he was able to squeeze that in, and it's basically when it rains he's able to come in because he can't do any outside painting on that. So he's got the walls are demoed, the tiles off the walls, and I think Angeli was going to pick up the tile tomorrow, correct, from Sioux Falls, and then so we'll have that on hand for the next rain day when he's ready to and able to come in and do that. And then we'll have new water fountains with the water filling stations, water bottle filling stations that'll be installed, so that'll greatly improve that area. The north exterior wall of the main gym had the caulk removed. This is in between the panels of EFIS. EFIS would be that outer insulation layer. Over time, the insulation stays strong, but the caulk expectancy is around 12 years for that. That cracks and water is able to permeate behind. When they pulled the caulk out, they could see that there's definitely plenty of moisture that was behind there, so there was some penetration from the water from the rain that was getting through there. So they've pulled that out and replaced that with new caulk, so we should be good for a while there. The main reasoning for that was for the leaking that's happening on top of our trophy cases, where you can see the buckets that are sitting up there. Again, when it rains, we'll see if that's been enough to fix that. If it still is leaking, there's a chance that they may have to do some more caulk work along the very bottom. A while back when they had roofing done, there was some damages that was made to the EFIS from when they put the new roof on, so we may have to look at a repair. They did not want to take that step and have that added cost if the vertical seam and horizontal seams weren't enough to fix it. So if it still leaks, then they'll come back and take a look at that bottom, and that would be, at least we're narrowing down what the issue is that's causing that leak above those trophy cases. Asbestos abatement is scheduled for the second week in July. I'm very excited for that one. You see a picture of the carpet, and I know I can't see them very well at home, but that's the carpet section that was the one that was selected by our staff. I put together a Google survey and sent that out to them, and that one, it was pretty close between that and the darker, more black or more dark gray and a little bit of light gray without the maroon. But the one with the little stripes of maroon in it is the one that won. So I'm excited to see that finished product. So we're doing phase 1, which would be the band room, choir room, ag room's already done. We did that last year when we had the grant. And then the current custodial room is going to have an abatement to get the tiles out of that, and then that one's going to stay polished concrete. So it'll be carpeting in band room, choir room, and the hallway, and then that other hallway that goes to the exiting door. So excited for that. The install will happen the week of July 28th, so the last week in July. And then the final item I have, which I believe leads into our next agenda item as well, is RFPs have been posted for the stadium project, and we've had a lot of action. There's been a number of engineering companies that have reached out to me and 3 that have been on site, getting a full tour and hearing more about the project, so excited for that. The due date for that is June 27th at 2 p.m. for the proposals to be submitted to me, and then we'll review them at the July board meeting. Anything I missed for facilities and grounds?
I spoke to Michael from McLaren Engineering today, on how to perform a leak test on the windows. He was gonna come up with a written procedure to send them, basically a flood test, and then back it up with a thermal camera to see if we have infiltration, and also to see if we've settled the insulation inside those walls as it's been leaking. And then I measured up the size of the sockets in there, and he's gonna basically tell them they're either cutting out an entire section and replacing it so it doesn't look like a patch, or they're epoxying the floor. So he should have that. He said he would email that tomorrow. I'll forward it on to everybody so they can take a look at it.
All right, next item on the agenda, the school board will hear information about capital outlay certificates.
Thank you, Jake. Good evening, everyone. Harry Spethman from D.A. Davidson and Company out of Omaha, Nebraska. This is really a treat for me to be here this evening. I've worked quite a bit with the school district over the years. In fact, the very first bond election I worked on when I got into business up here in South Dakota with my mentor was your 2008 bond issue, so it's nice to be back. As I said, I'm with D.A. Davidson and Company. We're a full-service investment bank, been working in the state of South Dakota since 1982. So we've been around a long time. We have a lot of offices around the country. Kind of an infomercial here. It tells about who we are and what we've done, but my most proud bit of information right here is since 1982, the firm has underwritten in excess of $3 billion of bonds and certificates for South Dakota issuer clients, the vast majority of which have been for school districts. So we do a lot of them up here, and we know what we're doing. If you would, Anjali, thank you. So as far as our rankings are concerned, last year in 2024, we ranked number 6 in the country by number of transactions at 274. If you go ahead, Anjali. And then as far as total underwriting par amount, we were in the top 16. We were 16th in the nation. So we got a lot of firepower, we do a lot of transactions, and we get your bonds and certificates sold, in a very competitive market. So that was just a little bit of an overview of myself. I've been around working in South Dakota, as I mentioned, since 2008. I've got 4 securities licenses. They make you take a lot of tests for that. And I've been doing business in South Dakota since January 1st of 2014 on behalf of the firm. So I've been doing it for 11 years on my own, and I really enjoy it. Folks up here are great to work with. Please. So this is a listing of all my transactions since January 1st of 14. I won't certainly go through each and every one of them, but if you could go ahead to the next slide, please. Okay, you can see that the last ones that I worked on for the Freeman School District were both in 17. We refunded your bonds that we did in 2012. So you issued bonds and certificates in 2008. We refunded those for you in 2012, and then we refunded them again in 2017. So we saved the district quite a lot of money in doing that from the standpoint of interest costs. So go ahead, Anjali, if you would. Thank you. And just one more. And so you can see that if you go back one, thank you. Since that time, I've underwritten over and structured over $1 billion worth of bonds and certificates for South Dakota issuers, doing over 145 transactions. So thank you. So this was the 2008 issue. I always like to show these because it has a school district's name. These are the covers for what we call the official statements that we use to sell your bonds and certificates. So we've been working with you since 08. So we did those 2 transactions, if you go ahead. And then we did a qualified school construction bond back in 2009. It's kind of a special program under ARA, if you remember that. And then American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Use too many acronyms. And then there's the refunding of the certificates in 2012. Go ahead. The refunding of the bonds in 2012, the refunding of the bonds in 2017, and the refunding of the certificates in 2017 as well, please. So when we do a financing, there are 4 participants, 1, 2, 3, 4, make it 5. Sorry about that. School district, obviously, you folks, you're looking at a very exciting project with regard to an athletic complex. I just funded certificates, the Vibor Curley School District's athletic complex project. Closed that transaction back in April. So obviously, the superintendent, business manager, and Board of Education, you folks are all together, make those decisions to get everything going. You need an architectural firm for those purposes up there, construction cost estimates, and oversee the bid process. Bond counsel law firm, that's, first of all, he represents the school district, drafts the resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds or certificates, in this case certificates, issues an opinion on the tax exempt status of bonds and certificates, and verifies the bond certificates have been validly issued pursuant to state law. You can't issue certificates or bonds on a tax exempt basis without the attorney's opinion. And that attorney with whom we work on almost all of our transactions is Mr. Todd Meyer-Henry out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Sioux Falls. So, very integral part of the process. Underwriting firm, that's us. We get the financing done, we structure it for you, we get the certificates, bonds sold, and we close the financing on your behalf and get you your funding, okay? And then your registrar paying agent, and Angela, you're probably pretty familiar with these folks. That's the bank which ensures that the principal and interest payments made by the school district on the bonds and certificates are sent to the purchasers in a timely fashion. So basically, they send a bill about 45 days out from the payment date to make sure that the money gets to the investors who buy the certificates and bonds. So in every one of our official statements I mentioned, we have this information. Under the South Dakota Constitution, the total indebtedness of a school district may not exceed 10% of the assessed value of the property within such school district. South Dakota law further provides that the portion of the total debt represented by capital outlay certificates may not exceed 3% of a school district's taxable valuation. So you see there's assessed valuation and taxable valuation. Assessed valuation is a formula that we calculate to figure out how much that 10% is, and then but the certificates are based off of 3% of a school district's taxable valuation. So here's the codified laws. This is the authority for the issuance of the limited tax capital outlay certificates. The maximum term you can borrow as a school district is 20 years from the date of issuance or the closing date. The authority is just a majority vote of the Board of Education. That's all you need. You don't need to do a vote like you do with general obligation bonds. This needs a supermajority of 60%. So there is a little bit of a nuance to it, though. Do you need a public hearing? No. If you're borrowing up to but not exceeding 1.5% of the school district's taxable valuation, you can do so without it being subject to a referendum. If for whatever reason a school board decided that they wanted to go above that 1.5%, then you would be subject to a public hearing and a referendum. So there's that little nuance there. So it's a very, very efficient way to issue debt, and the folks down in Nebraska, I office in Omaha, are always kind of jealous of the ability of school districts up here to do these types of certificates. So because they don't have that ability down there. So improvement projects, basically. Buildings, boilers, or buses, real property, plant, or equipment. That's what you can finance with capital outlay certificates, please. So, as far as Freeman School District is concerned, your 24, pay 25 taxable valuation is $516,093,329. The maximum borrowing percentage, which is that 3% that I mentioned, would allow you as a school district to borrow up to $15,482,799, okay, for capital improvement projects. And then you take what you have outstanding currently and subtract that, that would be your amount available up to the 3%, right? So your max per project borrowing amount based on 1.5% of your taxable valuation, not subject to referendum, is $7,741,399 based on this current valuation. And then you would have remaining up to that available 3% 5.5 million. And of course, this little number 1 here indicates that you're going to pay off these Series 2009B taxable certificates on 7/15 of '25. So when you do that, you're only going to have $510,000 of principal left on your Series 2017 refunding certificates. So this basically shows you what your per project borrowing amount is, along with your capacity. But that's the number that you can't exceed doing the 1.5%. So if you're looking at a project borrowing anywhere at or below that, you're in great shape. You wouldn't be subject to referendum. You can repay it over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, or any number in between those, between 1 and 20. So I put together this example of a 20-year capital outlay certificate. When I spoke with Jake and Anjali last week, they indicated to me that you're looking at maybe doing something next year. So I just decided to use a projected closing date of March 31st of 2026. You know, you can get your bids done in February when folks are still hungry. You get a nice bid, you get the money in the bank. If you decided to do it at this time and decide to move forward with the project and do it, and you'd be able to get $4,000 in the bank. The premium amount generated is $165,316.45. Premium is the ability to go ahead and get more than dollar for dollar from the investors who buy the certificates. They actually will pay up to own those. So it generates additional proceeds of $165,316.45. So in your project fund, you'd actually get $4,073,616.45, even though you're borrowing $4 million. So that's a pretty good deal. Your maximum annual payment amount under this scenario would be $316,625. And your average annual levy would be 61 cents per thousand based on your $516 million valuation. And then it was just right there. So, go ahead. That's just a disclosure that we have to provide anytime we show folks initial numbers. So we've got the ability to put the whole structure together for you. We've been doing it a long time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about certificates in general.
That was really helpful for me. I appreciate your time.
Oh, you bet. One thing I'd like to mention too is you can, we have what's called a call premium built into these financings. And so you can go ahead and once the district has paid down on these certificates for a certain amount of time, you then have the ability to refinance them. You have the ability to pay them completely off or just to make a partial payment of them. And we call that a call provision. And if you were to repay it over 10 years, you'd have a 5-year call provision, 15 would be 6, and then 20 would be 7 years. So after that time, after those 7 years are up on this 20-year financing structure, you have the ability to refinance if interest rates are advantageous, or pay it down or pay it off. If you were able to get some additional cash in the bank, or you had a nice donor or something like that. So.
What are you seeing in the market right now for rates?
This is based on the current market, and it's at 4.68% in today's market. And that's what we refer to as the true interest cost. It's like the APR on a mortgage, annual percentage rate. So it's, when you're talking about borrowing tax exempt, it's still under 5%. That's still pretty good rates. It's nothing like what we saw a few years ago when rates were so low. But, we see the volatility in the market over time, right?
So is that tied to a formula that's prime minus X?
I'm sorry?
Is that tied to a formula like prime minus X%?
No, it's not, sir. We're in the market every day, nationwide. We have 3 trading desks across the country. One's in Omaha, one's in Denver, one's in Seattle. And so we're selling bonds every day and certificates all over the country. So we have an index that's called the Municipal Market Data Index. And so we spread the rates off of that index based upon what's going on in the market with other transactions, both in the state of South Dakota and nationwide. So, yeah, prime, I guess, would be the MMD, the Municipal Market Data, plus a spread. So, yes, it's based off what your rating would be. So the rating on these, I made an assumption would be a AA plus enhanced and an A plus underlying rating. And I use that because there's a program through the South Dakota Health and Educational Facilities Authority that allows for a school district to pledge, in South Dakota, to pledge your state aid as a backstop to making the payments via your capital outlay levy. And by doing that, you get an enhanced credit rating of AA plus from Standard & Poor's. And that's really a wonderful program because it allows you to move that yield down based upon having a higher rate than just your underlying rating of A plus. So, and to date, since 2016, no school district in the state of South Dakota has had to have their state aid intercepted because they haven't made a payment. Folks, you folks all over the state are great at making your payments. You budget conservatively. You make your payments. That's why folks like your bonds and certificates.
Other questions? This is really helpful for me too, so appreciate it.
You bet, it's my pleasure. So thank you so much for your time, and Jake and Angeli, thank you for coming up so I could make the presentation. I appreciate it. It's nice to be back up here in Freeman. I'd like to mention that I was had the pleasure of doing a $2,745,000 financing for the city as well back in '22 for a street reconstruction project. So Freeman's one of my favorite towns up here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any additional, before we move on, Angeli, any additional thoughts regarding the certificates from a business management standpoint?
I think, depending what our RFPs come back,
Right.
I personally would like to pay some and then put some in a CD. That way we're saving on interest. We have enough in our capital to support that. But I did ask him to see what the payment plans would be for 5, 10, 15. Once we kind of know what our project number is gonna be,
Be
we'll
able
go
to
from there.
provide a little bit more opinion. Sounds good. Makes sense. Any other questions or discussion before we move on? Okay, next time on the agenda, the school board will hold a discussion about the administrative rule waiver application for the Department of Education.
This is every 5 years, correct, Katie? So every 5 years, we have to submit this to the state. As you can see on that page 2, for Algebra 1 to be counted for 8th graders. And that credits generally start for credit-bearing classes during that grade year. So we have to fill out this application to be able to do that. Something we've had in place in the past, we just need to renew it.
It's never been an issue getting it renewed, right? It's the same coursework.
Yeah.
Nothing new. Any other questions or discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll require a motion to approve the administrative rule waiver application for the Department of Education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cody. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next time on the agenda, the school board will hold a discussion about bids that were received for a 14-passenger school van.
So we had a bid opening last week, and there's one bid that was submitted in your packet from Carlos for a 2024 Forest River Ford van, 14-passenger, for the price of $67,500. We had some rough estimates that was presented to us by another manufacturer that had a little bit different van, but it had a storage area in the back, so it was different layout. But that was for close to $80,000. So this is very, very happy with with this quote, would you say, this bid? We are in a very busy part of our season right now with the summer, but during the school year is very busy as well for the mini. We've got practices that are using it. We've got, you know, teams that have small enough numbers that can fit 14 or less, and in the mini that gets used like crazy. And this came up from our coach, our advisory meeting last year, that we need to start looking for another 14 passenger because it's just increased so much. So it would be nice to have another 14 passenger vehicle.
So it would supplement, it wouldn't replace.
No, it would be in addition to.
Okay.
As often when the mini's out that we gotta send another group in the Yukon and the gray van, and you know, you have to have another driver, and it'd be much easier when we can fit more people in one vehicle.
Sure. Sense. Any questions, concerns, comments? Any thoughts from you, Angeli, budget-wise?
I do have it in the capital, budget for
Okay.
next year.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Okay, then I'll require a motion to approve the selected bid for the purchase of a 14-passenger school van. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Cody, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, the school board will hold a discussion about the cooperative agreement for soccer.
So that's also in your packet. You have the dissolution, which needs to happen for the previous cooperative agreement to be dissolved. And then you have the resolution for bringing in the new agreement.
Yep, Viber Curly.
Didn't sound right.
So nothing else would change. It would still be under the Freeman Academy. It'd still be the Bobcats. We still wouldn't have.
It's they've organized and paid for everything with that, and the academy was okay with it, so.
Any questions or comments? If not, I will require a motion to approve the dissolution of the current soccer cooperative agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to approve the resolution of the soccer cooperative agreement with those changes discussed. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, so moved.
Motion by Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by David. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next item on the agenda, the school board will discuss food service bids that were received.
So we are part of a buying group with Ethan, Viber Curly, Irene, Wakanda. And we got back bids from Prairie Farm for milk and Food and Bread from Cashway. We decided we'd like to go with those two bids. They were the cheapest, and we went with them for the last several years, so with no problems. So we would just stick with them. And that's what the group decided, so we just need to approve it. If anyone would like to see the bids, I have them in my hand, but yeah, they are the cheapest.
Any other comments? Discussion?
Good enough for me.
All right, then we'll require a motion to approve the discussed food service bids. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Chris, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, executive session will require a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 1. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries in executive session, 8:04 PM.